going around. Go ahead.
Thanks. I think it's following up on this, and I kind of want to go at this inflation question a
Sure.
little bit differently. I mean, it seems like the White House is making a lot of promises on inflation, but there are some concerns that the White House or a president doesn't have a lot of power over inflation. And even when you talk about energy prices in particular, like gasoline, you're talking about the FTC doing investigations. That's a common tactic. It usually doesn't turn up very much. Tapping the SPR, that's a short-term thing. It's not a long-term thing. So I guess my question is, for the White House, you're making these promises. How do you deliver, especially on things on like gasoline, food prices? Yes, you can deal with child care costs, but these kind of bread and butter issues, how do you actually deliver on that?
Well, some of the biggest costs, the reason I touched on those is some of the biggest costs for households and Americans, and the way they feel inflation is not typically looking at a graph, right? They're looking at the costs and how things are impacting them, are things like housing and childcare and healthcare.
Gasoline is a very
Correct,
big
but those are big costs on people's households, and that's why I addressed and raised those issues. I'd also note that every outside economist, a vast majority, I guess I should say, predicts that inflation will come down next year. That is what outside experts are predicting. So what we're really talking about is how we cut costs in the short term. I've outlined a number of ways we would cut costs. I would note that we don't have partnership from most Republicans on that. We hear a lot of screaming about inflation. We don't hear a lot of solution agreement or willingness to participate in a solution, and that's really, or discussion of a solution, and that's really what we're looking for at this point in time. So I noted that the way that we can, and how outside economists are projecting we can address inflationary issues, is by continuing to push this agenda forward, pass the agenda, because it will help spur economic growth, it will help spur productivity, and also because it's fully paid for. And that's why outside economists, Larry Summers, Moody's, Mark Zandi, don't think it will have a negative inflationary impact.
On a separate issue,